Hello and welcome to another episode of the EFL Fantasy Podcast. My name is Jamie.
My name is Angus.
My name is Dan.
And we are here to review game week 5 in Gaffr. Apologies for the delay. Life got in the way on Sunday and then on Tuesday, so we are recording on Thursday night, but it's not to worry, it is international break, so there's no mad rush to get this in your ears before game week 6. We might as well get straight into it, and we'll go through our scores and the pod team scores, 6 key games, other results, and then we'll go through all the questions at the end. Before we do start, make sure you do give us a like or subscribe or a 5-star. I had to think what I was asking for then. Yeah, go do all that kind of thing before you give us a listen. It will really help us out. Shall we go to your team first, Angus?
Yeah, why not? So I got 73 minus 4 this week, which while I played triple, it wasn't necessarily the best sort of week for it. But in terms of the outcome, points wise, but it was a massive green arrow, like 300 place green arrow to 284th, and given some of the scores around to take it and run. I had Hladky in goal for 2, Manning 0, Davis 3, Key 3. Bought in Rowe as part of minus 4, along with Nonto and Piero. Rowe got 9, Sarah 6. Nonto got 21 as part of the triple. Dewsbury Hall 15, Piero 6 as part of it. Armstrong 2, Broadhead 6. Obviously cost himself 4 points with the late booking. And Piero was also bought for Will Keane. So that part was not great. But, you know, I'm happy with sort of the process. Watching the highlights of the Leeds game, it's like, yeah, I did the right thing getting Leeds attackers in. They just didn't score. So it could have been better, but at the same time, you know, it's a nice, healthy green arrow, and I can sort of look to press on now, I think.
I just want to thank you for amusing me, because normally if somebody scores 2 goals against my team, I'm quite annoyed. But the fact that you sold him for Perot,
Yeah.
apologise, I shouldn't laugh, but it is funny. I'd expect you to laugh at me. Dan?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I played triple as well. I got 69. I had 2 free transfers going into the game week. I took out Loser and Mavididi for Somerville, and I finally got Rowe. He was just killing me every week. There's no reason to keep avoiding him. I played the triple on Piero for 6, Sarah for 18, and Dewsbury Hall for 15. Um, Loads of 2s and 3s apart from Somerville for 6, Rowe for 9, and Broadhead 6. I cut my rank in half and I'm now 123rd. So bit annoyed not to get into the top 100, but I'm feeling quite confident because a lot of people have played 2 or 3 boosts. Well, I have played 2 or 3 and I've only played 1 boost. So hopefully by the time we get into the end of the phase, I'll be well into the top 100.
Good stuff. I'm crap at this game. I did really crap. I scored 44. I didn't play a boost though, so that was probably the only positive to come out of it. Um, Manning and Walker Peters both with 0 points. Thank you very much for that, lads. I've iced Captain Davis for 4 points, which is quite annoying. I was quite hopeful in that game against Cardiff. Dewsbury all 5, Sarah 6, Rowe 9, Loser 2. I did take out Josh Bowler because he was injured. I was just going to leave him on the bench and roll, but I took him out for John Swift, who got me a goal, returned me just 6 points though. Broadhead 6, and a captain Adam Armstrong for 4. So my captaincy picks aren't great at the moment, and I'm down to 623rd. But it's early days yet, and like you said, Dan, people have played 2 or 3 boosts, and I think I'm about 100 points off top at the moment, and with 3 boosts in hand. So hopefully by the end of this set, I'll be within the top 100. That's the plan. Anyway, but that's our teams. What about the pod team in the Thursday night wars, Angus?
We played a very underwhelming triple, but did win this week. So given that all that really matters is sort of winning week, like individual weeks, we'll sort of take it. 61 -4. Rushworth 3. We had Manning and Walker Peters double up for zeros. Davis 3. Dewsbury Hall 5. Our triple was on Pirro, Sara, and Somerville. 6, 18, and 18 respectively on that. Frockia Jensen for 0. Just note we won with 3 playing 0 pointers.
Oh wow!
We also had Armstrong's 2 and Broadhead 6, and we had Van Evijk's 10 sitting first sub. But we won, which is the main thing.
So yeah, back to winning ways in that, and we'll look to march on in that. Right, let's get into some games now then. Just for those who are watching on YouTube, you will notice that I wouldn't say I was clever. I stumbled across on SofaScore a way of importing them, the lineups and the key actions, let's say. If you find them useful, let me know. If you think they're crap, let me know, and I'll remove them for next week. But I thought they might be handy for you who were watching it visually. And the first game is Coventry 3, Watford 3. So Dan, the notable lineup information?
Yeah, so Hardy Wright was in for Sims. They keep swapping. It looks like Godden's the main man, and the other two keep rotating. For Watford, Sierralta, Loser, Ince, and the striker Rogovic was in for Kone, Kampembe, Esprilla, and Bayo. That's basically it.
Okay, and key actions from this one then, Angus?
So I guess the first part, I'm just trying to remember the sequence now, was Godden missing a penalty, or was there a goal before that? I've messed up right from the start.
I'm just getting it up on another screen because I've realised I've got this on screen. So
yes,
the viewers
so
can see this on full screen,
yeah,
and I can't see nothing.
So the first thing in terms of the key sort of action was the missed penalty from Godden. I think they said it was only the second missed penalty, sort of non-shootout penalty of his career, and the first time he'd missed one in a game since I think it was 2017. So it's certainly rare. Rajovic then opened the scoring with a Tom Ince assist. Impressive that he fell over and was still more on his toes than any of the Coventry defenders. Van Evijk then obviously scored a free kick from range. Mateus Martins finally got a goal, cutting in and shooting. An assist there for Deli Bashiru. That my favourite goal of the lot was the Wesley Hoot no-look back pass for an own goal. Rajovic then got a second after a terrible back pass from Thomas. Bayo knocked it back to him and he finished. And then Godden did get the equaliser late in the game.
Right, brilliant. Just before we get into the key takeaways and from this one, again, just a notice on the graphics, it's crap. On the key events, it's missed out the first goal for Watford, so it's pointless having them on there. So please ignore them. They will not be there next week. We'll just keep to the lineups and the match stats on screen. But what have we took away from this game then, guys?
So I think both teams have things to work on defensively, is the nicest way of putting it. I mean, starting with defensive passing, given that led to directly to two of the goals. Yeah, it was a bit chaotic, really. Rajovic looks like he's getting in the right areas. I know there's been some disagreement from people that have watched him there about whether he's any good or not. But from what I've seen in the couple of games so far, it certainly looks like he's going to get in the areas to potentially score goals. So it then sort of boils down to what Watford can do in terms of setting him up. But he looks like he could be dangerous. I thought Hadji Wright looked decent as well, and Godden's in a really good run at the moment. But those were sort of the main things for me, really.
What you done?
I wanted to talk about Godden, like I mentioned in the team news. I think a lot of people are surprised Godden's, well, he's become the main man, and I know why. He's like the little and large, with Wright and Sims pretty similar build. We've known for a long time Gordon's quite a good finisher in and around the box. It's mainly been his fitness, but they've got a nice set of fixtures coming up: Hull, Cardiff, Huddersfield, and QPR. The next four. They sort of got through that tricky spell we all knew they had at the start of the season. So I think Coventry and especially Godden could be an option moving forward.
Yeah, God, I can't remember who I was talking to over the weekend, but Godden's right on my watch list. Like you see, with them good fixtures as well. Watford, I've just noticed Martins is outscoring Loser now, as in total points. Martins is now on 29 points, 4 more points than Loser, and he's 6.6 compared to Loser 7.1. Is Martins a viable option rather than Loser? Or do you think Loser's the best one because of the potential of bonus points?
I think Loser is probably still the best option. I've sort of talked about Martins before, particularly about the fact he loves a shot. And obviously shots on target do play into the bonus. So when you've got someone who's that willing to shoot, it's not only are you more likely to get attacking returns, but it can also lead to bonus as well. So I wouldn't necessarily say rather than Loser, but for example, if you need that money, but still want the Watford coverage for whatever reason, then he's sort of putting his hand up as an option, I think.
Anything else on these two? It seems a bit of a weird one with these two because they're the first game on the featured game, which, you know, they've just drew 3-3, so they should be. But in terms of Gaffr, other than Loser at the moment and potentially bringing Godden in, is there anyone really worth talking about?
I think someone who keeps being involved is Van Evijk. And so I think it is worth talking about him. I think obviously we had him on the bench for the pod team. The fact that he was on the direct free kick was very interesting. Obviously being a defender sort of on that sort of set piece, obviously, you know, that immediately sort of gets your attention. And it was a good strike. You can argue about whether the wall and the goalkeeper maybe should have done better, but it was a good strike. And I think, you know, the fact that he also likes to get forward, he's I think almost every game being taken off before he would get the second half clean sheet. But if he's going to get points before he comes off, you're probably willing to trade that off for the 2 extra points, essentially.
And would you favour him over De Silva?
I think so. Just because they're both sort of, I think, going to be rotated at times. De Silva obviously, you know, sort of was forward winning the penalty. But I think at the moment I would lean towards Van Evijk personally. I'm sure there's, you know, stats or whatever that say I'm wrong, but that's sort of the lean at the moment.
Okay. Anything from you, Dan?
No, that's basically it. Like I said, good fixtures for Coventry. So if you want to take a punt on one of these players, probably a good time to do it, I think.
Well, last one on that, Dan, because you mentioned the fixtures. For me, who's got no Coventry, but I'm extremely interested. When would you say is the best time to jump on? Would you say for Hull in game week 6, or would you wait a week or two?
I would just do it now if you want to do it. Get in there before anyone else does.
Yeah, interesting point. Right, next game then it was Sunderland 5, Southampton 0. Didn't see this one coming. Key lineup information, Dan.
Yes, so Sunderland were unchanged. Roberts was still injured. Obviously, they sold Stewart to Sunderland, who was injured. They brought in a lot of youngsters, which I don't know that much about. Southampton, they made loads of changes. Holgate, Downs, Smallbone, Mara were in for Stevens, Alcaraz, Charles, and Amaya. Yeah, just obviously mass rotation for Southampton as they try and get settled after the window closed.
Okay, brilliant. And then key events from this one, Angus?
Yeah, it was a strange one, obviously, because Sunderland, they've won 5-0. They were very clinical in this game, which I think makes it look slightly worse for Southampton than it was. For reference, their XG was just under 2 and they scored 5 goals. The first goal was actually a counter-attack from a Southampton corner where they managed to get caught with basically their entire team up the pitch. Good header from Clark, actually. You see a lot of players make that sort of header look really difficult, and he made it look very easy from Trey Hume ball in, and that was the sort of goal in the first minute. I'm not having that Ekwa's got the second goal. He's been given the second goal. I think the number of replays they showed, it is quite clearly going wide until it hits Flynn Downs. Although, shout out to Robert Earnshaw, who said, if you kick it in the direction of the goal, even if it's missing, you deserve the goal. I thought that was a great argument. Ekwa then got another goal, which is all about Mason Holgate, who manages to pass the ball to Ekwa, charge up to tackle him, and somehow completely fail to tackle him. And then Bazunu, who should probably do better on the shot, got a hand to it, didn't keep it out. Looked like he was almost caught by surprise. Fourth goal, Dak with the tap in after Holgate completely air kicked on a straightforward clearance in front of him. And then Rigg got the fifth off a Bennett assist.
Right, let's start with Sunderland because obviously they've won 5-0, so it'll be right to start with them. What were your takeaways from this game regarding them?
I think they showed that despite some of the turnover, despite in this game missing a couple of players as well, they've still got some good players in there. Jack Clark obviously had a great game. I thought Ekwa had a great game. There was the odd time where he was, right on the verge of something sort of negative for them. There was one where he sort of gifted a chance to Edozie, who shot just wide. Thought Dak did well again. It's the longest run of games for him for a while, I think, but he did look good. I think there are some players from them that are emerging as options. I was impressed by Hume as well. Obviously, Clark would still be the main one. Roberts is due to be back after the break, which will help as well. I also think it would have been interesting. The one thing I didn't say in the key event is a stonewall penalty not given to Southampton.
Yeah.
Dak kicks right through Manning's ankle, which, of course, for those people who are on Manning and Armstrong, which is quite a few of us, it's doubly frustrating. Referee's looking straight at it as well. They looked at it afterwards. The referee has looked straight at it and was like, nope, nothing doing, which was a strange one. But I think that was at 2-0. So it potentially would have changed things at that point if the penalty had been given and they scored it. But yeah, I was impressed with Sunderland's ability to, hit Southampton when given the opportunities.
Well, your thoughts, Dan?
I've said for a few weeks, I think Sunderland haven't been getting the results that they deserve. I'm not, obviously, they probably shouldn't have won 5-0, but I think a result like this was on the cards. Clark, I think some of us doubted whether he could live up to the same performances as he did last season. I think we're starting to see that. He's been doing it mainly throughout the season, but it hasn't been returning. Dak is an interesting one. There's a lot of younger players in this team, and they got rid of a lot of their experienced players. So I think that they'll probably need Dak more than, not just for what he does on the pitch, but what he does around off the pitch, especially as we know he's worked with Mowbray before, and Mowbray obviously trusts him, so I can see him actually having a lot of game time. Um, yeah, they're another one with good fixtures coming up. So
Oh,
yeah, I'm looking at especially Clark, but we can't have all these midfielders, which is a bit of a pain, really.
I was just about to say about the fixtures, and they've got a very good run now. Probably you'd say all the way up until the end of October. You've got QPR, Blackburn, Cardiff, Sheffield Wednesday, Watford, Middlesbrough, Stoke before Leicester.
Yeah,
So that is a really good run. Angus briefly mentioned some of the assets there. Obviously, Clark will be the main one people talk about, and rightly so. He's 9.1 million now, but he scored 38 points. Roberts coming back from injury will be big. Question on Dak. Do you think he's an option? We know about his injury record, but we can only go off what's gone on so far, and he's been fit. He's playing, and what is he, 6 million? And he's basically playing up front. Could he be an option?
I think so. I did just want to mention on him because I was looking at it earlier. I find his stats from this game remarkable. He played 63 minutes. He touched the ball 25 times. He completed 7 out of 8 attempted passes in 63 minutes. He had 3 shots, which bear in mind he only touched the ball 25 times. He managed to have 3 shots and had a key pass in there. So it's almost impressive that he had he had the ball so little and yet managed to have an impact in there. I think given just the role he's playing, if he's going to keep playing, keep staying fit until he's not, you have to consider him as an option. I think at his price,
Especially when he's free
What
money
the-
cheaper than Clark as well.
yeah. I think the only thing is he's not going to play a 3 game week, is he? Um, but he's 6 million. You can bench him, and I think it'll be pretty obvious when he will be benched. I'd reckon.
Yeah, that's a good point to actually, Dan, because it's worth noting that the first midweek game week is after the weekend. So what's that, game week 7 is actually
Yeah.
midweek. So 6, 7, and 8 are going to come out as fast, and that might give us an indication on Dak. But obviously we've got a long stretch of good fixtures now, so they're definitely worth keeping an eye on. Southampton, it's frustrating, especially as for me it was like a triple Southampton, double Southampton defence. Yeah, not great. Talk to me about Southampton.
this may sound mad based on this game. I didn't think they were that bad. Like they weren't good, but like it's one of those things where I've referenced the sort of XG stat and whatever. They had their moments in this game, and I think I know Russell Martin went after their sort of mindset in the game, which I think did look right in terms of his criticism, not their mindset. Their mindset wasn't right, but he was sort of referencing a point late in the game. I think it was before the 5th goal, where Burnett gets the ball and does like 3 pirouettes. No one tackles him. No one kicks him up in the air. And Martin actually said, if one of our players had tried to do that, Sunderland player would have clattered him.
Yeah.
And it was just like it's exactly that. Like they were a bit off the pace in this one. I think they're still obviously working on integrating players and getting the right balance in. Mason Holgate, it's not a solution to anything.
He has had a shocker.
He's not a solution to
Harwood
anything.
Bellis, though.
Harwood Bellis has come in, and I think that will help because it will mean that Mason Holgate plays less. I think Harwood Bellis is also good, and he's good for what they want to do. So I think he will help them in there. But just a really bad day for them.
Obviously, Old Bellis is probably going to go straight into the team. I'd be quite surprised if he didn't. But do you think he comes in for Holgate?
I think Holgate has done a good job of making that case in this game. When he came in, Martin did talk about his ability to cover at multiple positions, which I think sort of suggested that he's coming in to essentially be a backup there.
I was quite interested when he come in to just see how we'd do because, yes, he gets stick from his time at Everton, But, a lot of players do that. They're still good players. They're playing Premier League football. But he has had a shocker. He really hasn't helped himself. So that was literally on my notes as well when I was watching that. So I was like, oh, Jesus Christ. Key question that I need to ask, and I think a lot of people will be asking as well. Manning. I'm asking about Walker-Peters and Manning. But I know a lot of people will be asking about Manning. He obviously got the returns last game week. Bad day at the office here, because I don't think we should overreact to this result. I think this was a one-off, maybe. But what are your thoughts on Manning? I know we spoke about it last week, and I feel like we're going to be speaking about him every single week until he does something, or we all end up just selling him. So what we're saying now?
Well, I mean, he had the big week last week. I think it's worth noting with this, if he gets given the penalty, people feel different. He had 3 key passes in the game as well. That could, on another day, that leads to a return. So I get it that a bunch of people are going to be frustrated with him now and want rid. Personally, I think there's still enough good signs there that I won't be selling him, but I understand why people will want to.
You can't be doubled up on them.
No, I wouldn't be doubled up on the defence now, I think. And the other thing I think is you notice a game like this, the key passes weren't really there for Walker-Peters either. So I think he's probably the one that's actually more of an issue if anyone has him.
I also want to say, they've played against 2 teams with good attacks, Norwich and Sunderland, and they've conceded 9 goals.
Yeah, but Dan, you'd come running a mile to question Russell.
No, but that's a point, right? It's all right if you're playing Sheffield Wednesday and teams like that, but when they're playing against a team that'll probably be top 10, top 8, they're struggling to defend against good players. So, yeah.
Yeah, although, like I say, I mean, it's easy to sort of spin it one way or the other. I mean, Mason Holgate's had a shocker who shouldn't be in the team. You've got a goal that was going harmlessly wide until it hits a Southampton player and goes in.
He wasn't in the Norwich game, now was he? They conceded 4 against Norwich.
Yeah, I'm just saying, you could spin it either way with this game in particular.
Well, they've conceded the most goals in the league, Angus.
Yeah.
So they're obviously not very good defensively.
Yeah, I mean, I think you if you want to talk about their data and everything, it's much better than that, significantly better. So then that provokes questions where I would say one thing that does point to is Gavin Bazunu. I think there is there's actually an issue with him. The problem is you've got Alex McCarthy and Joe Lumley as the alternatives, and no one wants to see that.
So am I best coming off double Southampton defence and all?
Yes, yeah, unequivocally come off double defence. You definitely don't want to be on double defence.
Yeah, and just to summarise Southampton, from what I said before, we're not overreacting to this result, are we?
Not for me.
No. Okay, right, let's move on to the next game. Ipswich beat Cardiff 3-2. Noticeable lineup information, Dan?
Hurst came back in for Jackson. Cardiff with Narson, the goalie. Tanner and Grant were in for Alnwick. Ugbo, which was a surprise, and O'Dowda.
Okay, and key events from this one, Angus?
Yeah, so Carl and Grant had a goal disallowed. Start off with for offside. It looked quite tight. Wasn't great from Hladky. Didn't really do enough with the save, but got rescued by the offside flag. Really nice team move for the first goal, actually, that ended with Grant setting up Aaron Ramsey to make it sort of 1-0. Hurst and Chaplin then had chances, obviously, but Rawls had a shot charged down by the defender. It hit another defender in the face, then hit the first defender again, and then he sort of put it into the far corner to make it 2-0. You then had Ladapo. So Broadhead had the first one, which was obviously a really good finish. and then 2 for Ladapo. The first one from an attempted sort of short corner played back to the edge that Cardiff defender sort of redirected, and Ladapo finished, and then Ladapo had got it kicked into his face by Runnison, and that was the winner, which perfectly summed up what I saw of this game.
Okay, talking points, and from this, what have we got?
Well, I guess, it's partially we've got to talk about sort of Freddie Ladapo getting 2 goals. He did a good job for them. George Hurst went off in the first half, and Ladapo came on and made a difference right away, which I think is significant for them, because I think that there's been some issues, and they're probably going to need to keep scoring with the way, a team like Cardiff, they played some good stuff, but they also played through them quite easily in this game. So they are going to have to keep scoring goals. And so I think there are players that are going to need to keep stepping up. And so I think that was sort of one of the sort of major takeaways from me. Obviously, one of them is very lucky, but, you have to be in the right place to get those chances as well.
Dan?
I thought it was a very good comeback for Ipswich. Like to come, I know they were 2-0 down, but to come back in any level of football from 2 goals down to win it shows character. Again, I've been pretty impressed with Cardiff going forwards. Think they probably should have more points than they actually do. So there might be a few options there. Ramsey looks like he started quite well. Two good finishes. I'm tripled up on Ipswich, Cladkey, Davis, and Broadhead. I don't see any reason to go get off of them. And Cardiff, maybe a couple of their assets might be worthwhile later on, but yeah, it's the same really. Ipswich are just ticking along nicely. Not great at the back though, but Davis keeps somehow getting bonus, which is a massive talking point, which is one of the reasons why we all had him.
I was on double Cardiff because I went and targeted the QPR game in game week 2, didn't I? So I had Bowler and Ugbo, and I've still got Ugbo actually, to be fair, which is not a major concern for me. I think at that value, I've got a lot of money in the bank. He's fine to sit on the bench when I don't need him. But with Ipswich, I think I wouldn't say it's getting boring, but it's quite settled now in terms of Gaffr, isn't it, with them? Davies is probably your best asset. A lot of players are on Hladaki and goal, and then it's probably, have you gone Chaplin or have you gone Broadhead? Would you agree?
I think Burns is an option, but people haven't gone there, I don't think.
Have you looked
I
at his
considered
numbers,
him.
Angus?
Yeah,
Since, because I know we did well against Stoke.
Yeah, yeah. He's another one that I think does well for sort of key passes and involvement. I think it's against Stoke, I think it was 5 or 6 key passes. I did look at him at that point, but didn't go there. But I think it's going to be tough to justify him, even though, because he's a midfielder as well, and there are so many midfielders, it's easier to get sort of the defensive or the forwards.
Yeah. And yeah, well, obviously Broadhead gets a goal this week. Decides to get booked right at the end there, which is annoying for the owners. But I think he's won this week. I think it'll be like that between him and Chaplin for most of the season, to be fair. So it's whichever way you've gone. Cardiff, I agree. I don't think anyone stands out right now, but there's definitely potential there. And I think the longer the season goes on, the more settled they're going to be, and I think they will improve massively in terms of results. Is there anything else from these two you'd like to discuss?
No.
I don't think so. I'll just say one thing. Aaron Ramsey, Dan mentioned him briefly. I think they are sort of steadily freeing him up to play a bit further forward. Earlier in the season, he was playing a bit deeper. I think he is now getting forward a bit more, and I think that does make him quite interesting.
Okay, worth keeping an eye on. Next game was West Brom 1, Huddersfield 2. Noticeable lineup information, Dan?
Yeah, Townsend and Bartley were back in for Ajay and Peters. They moved to a 4-2-3-1. They had been playing at 3-4-3. Huddersfield, Kasumu, Burzog, Wiles were in, and I think that's it. We're in for Edwards, Karoma, Thomas. Yeah, that's basically it.
Okay, and the key events, Angus?
So obviously the first goal was for Huddersfield. Bergsog, the new signing, or one of the new signings, I think took it quite well. You can ask a question of the goalkeeper, although I do think he wasn't necessarily expecting it to come through, but took it down well on his chest and then hit it. After that, John Swift got the equaliser. Thomas Asante released it at just about the right time. Would have been interesting to see with VAR whether he had, but obviously that's not in the championship, and he sort of went through and made it 1-1. Radoni got the winner in added time after being found at the back post by Harrott.
Okay. Key talking points from this. One, firstly, for me, I think this was the biggest surprise of the weekend for me. I know other teams lost, the big teams, which we'll get to, but West Brom at home, I think I must have picked up the stat from the highlights the other week that they're on, or a podcast, it might have been Championship Chat actually. The home record under Carl Scorbrand was like really, really good. And then with Huddersfield going there, I thought, yeah, this is a banker, which is one of the reasons I brought Swift in. So yeah, big shock. In terms of Gaffr, I'm going to leave this to you because other than Swift, I don't know where you'd look.
So I think there's, it's difficult because it's Huddersfield. I think Radoni sort of jumped out to me from this one. He had a goal disallowed, which I thought was slightly soft, but probably the right call for a foul by, I think it was Hellick. He's got the goal at the end and he's taken it very nicely as well. So I just thought that he in particular looked quite interesting. And then, obviously you've got Thomas Asante leading the line. He's going to have to be sort of heavily involved for them. So him and Swift might be options. They're going to be involved, I think, if West Brom are going to score goals.
Dan?
To be honest, I don't have too much to say about this. Yeah, I was surprised West Brom didn't win this match. We know Swift will be one of the best options. I just can't get excited about West Brom, which I'm glad, because normally I fall into the trap of bringing two forwards in or two attacking players, and it costs me. So yeah, I'm all right with them just ticking along, never really being an option at the minute. For Huddersfield, I know they've got the result here, but I think they're one of the weakest teams in the league. So I like Radoni as a player, but I can't go near any of those players at the minute.
Yeah, I agree. I think I'll still be targeting Huddersfield in future game weeks. The only way I'm going to own a Huddersfield player is if somehow they get a triple game week, and then I'll probably fall in the trap of having triple Huddersfield, something daft like that. West Brom, frustrating. I'm now in a situation where I've got Swift, which once an issue because I had 6 million in the bank before I made the transfer, so it was an easy move for me. I'm just going to need more from them as a team, which will gain Swift more. I need bonus points as well as goal returns, really, to make him justifiable at his price compared to some of the others who are probably cheaper. So I'll be keeping an eye on Swift in my team over the next 2 or 3 weeks and then make a decision from there. But he's not one I'm overly excited about. Shall we go on to the next game?
Yeah, one thing I just briefly wanted to add. I would not be concerned about having defenders against West Brom based on what I've seen so far this season. It may look like a bad fixture. Based on what I've seen so far, it's not.
Is it defenders playing against West Brom?
Yeah.
Then
Yeah.
poor attacking.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. For some reason, I couldn't take in what you were saying then. Right. And okay. Right. We'll make note of that. Next game then. Plymouth beat Blackburn 3-0. Line-up information, Dan.
Yeah, for Plymouth, Plasuego was in for Scar. For Blackburn, Pickering, Moran, and Gallagher were in for um, Rankin, Costello, Dolan, and Lennon. Obviously, Rankin Costello we knew was injured going into the game week.
Okay, and key events, Angus?
Yeah, so obviously in this one, Hedges actually had a great chance at 0-0, but didn't manage to take it. And then the opener was a deflected shot from Azaz. I think it was a Whittaker assist. Hardy made it 2-0, quickest to react after a save. And then really smart play on the third goal, actually. I think it was Ryan Hardy, who, after the goalkeeper had come out and not got enough on it, managed to get sort of behind the defender and nod it back to Kundal to lob the goalkeeper before he got back in the goal to make it 3-0. So, yeah, those were the sort of actions there.
Okay, and key talking points, then, from this game?
I think, again, it's about Plymouth at home. We're talking about, on another day they concede goals, but they're going to do well at home, and I think that's, we're seeing that already. They're going to particularly get goals at home, and they're going to get results at home, I think, as well. There was some fortune in some of their goals in this one, but I think you can look at Mumba. I think Ryan Hardy, I think, is doing really well. Obviously, he's the central striker, and then you've got Whittaker as well, who's doing well. But I think from what I'm seeing, I'd edge Hardy of those two.
I didn't realise till I've literally just looked. He's on 41 points now. He's the top scoring forward in the game, and he's 5.7 million. So that's really good. One thing I want to point out, with you mentioned about home, and I agree. I think they're going to be really good at home. They have got back-to-back away games next in 6 and 7 with Preston and Bristol City, and then the next home game is Norwich. But I think looking from game week 10 after the whole away game, Millwall at home, Swansea at home, away at West Brom, and then Sheffield Wednesday at home. That's a really good set of fixtures.
Yeah.
Dan, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, we were talking before the podcast started, and there was 40 odd shots in this game. So I think Plymouth have come up, and they're quite open, and they're going to have games where it's end to end. So if you've got players like playing against Plymouth, just play them, and vice versa. Like, I wouldn't be afraid to play Plymouth especially attacking players at home. But even away, that I think they're going to attack, and yes, similar to Ipswich, they've adapted to the league quite well, and yeah, they've got some nice options, which I currently don't have any of Plymouth, but like Angus has mentioned, the 2 or 3 there, they're high on the watch list. But yeah, Blackburn, I don't really have much to say about Blackburn. I've got Rankin Costello. He's not really got going. If he's out injured for a bit longer, he might go, I think. Are you guys looking to keep him, or have you got rid of him? Or?
Well, I was going to ask this, Dan, because I want to sell him, but I want to sell off my team. So, again, advice needed. Should I be selling him, or should I be keeping him?
I think he's fine, personally. I think we've seen sort of a couple of games, obviously, before the injury. He was doing all right in those. I think he's due to be back during the international break, so he should be ready for after the international break, which I think sort of affects things in terms of if I mean, I don't want to sell quite as much as half my team, but there's a few players that feel more pressing issues than Rankin Costello. They do have a tough run coming up, which is the other factor there, particularly sort of for the defence. So if someone for whatever reason had one of the attackers, I think that's probably a slightly easier hold. Defenders, unless, if you're in a situation, as we said, where you don't have as many things to fix, then maybe you could look at whether you move on from him at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, other than Rankin Costello, I don't think there's anybody else really worth talking about from a Gaffr point of view, is there? Or have I missed anyone?
Hedges?
Hedges. Definitely Hedges.
Yeah, he's getting chances, isn't he? He's at, I think he's 6'5". It's just in the midfield. Just trying to get him in.
Midfielder, isn't it?
Yeah.
6'5", as you says at the moment. And would you say he's the best one to have?
I think so. He scored the goal against Watford, which he obviously took well, and I enjoy seeing any goal that involves the player basically doing key PRPs. And as I said, he had a great chance at 0-0 in this game as well. So I think he seems to be the one.
Enjoy any player that scores a goal against Watford.
Hello, Watford fans. Hello, Joe.
Joe.
No, I do agree with you with you saying Edgy is probably the best asset, but I just think we've mentioned throughout the podcast the midfield slots. I just don't think I could go there with a lot better options, in my opinion, out there from other teams. But I appreciate what you said there. Plymouth have covered, so shall we go on to the next game?
Yeah.
Last one from the featured ones, which was a surprise as well. Rotherham 2, Norwich 1, Dan. Line-up news?
Yeah, so Rotherham were unchanged. New signing Sam Nombe was on the bench, their transfer record. And for Norwich, as expected, Adam Eder was in for Sargent, who I think he's going to be out for a few months.
Okay, and key events, Angus?
Yeah, so obviously Lemba Kisa, the young lad on loan from Wolves, scored an absolute screamer from the edge of the area right into the top corner to make it 1-0.
Amy's trying to remember it because it was about 5 days ago.
I don't know if the viewers have noticed this, I can't remember anything from this weekend. Recording so late in the week is so difficult to remember everything. So I'm just following along what you two say.
Yeah. Jordan Hugel then made it 2-0 with a good header, got across his man at the near post, headed across goal. I also enjoyed seeing him celebrate, just because I think players should be able to celebrate against their former clubs. Also, with Jordan Hugel at this point, if he didn't celebrate against former clubs, he'd never be able to celebrate a goal. And then Rowe did really well to set up Fastnacht for the consolation. Norwich had a couple of chances but couldn't find the equaliser. So yeah, that's about that.
I watched the highlights on YouTube rather than the EFL highlights show, and I'm convinced I didn't watch this one, I don't think, because I can't remember any of that. And I know my memory's bad, but no, I don't think I've seen any of these goals. So key talking points then from this, obviously slip up for Norwich, who've been doing well so far. Eyes were on them in terms of assets. What we're thinking?
Jonathan Rowe returned for the 5th game in a row. We're going to have to change it to an attacking return streak rather than goal scoring streak because he only got an assist in this game. They weren't quite as good in this game, but I think that there were probably positives for them. And then obviously you've got Sarah, 6 key passes, 3 shots, although he didn't hit the target with any of them. But just if you watch the highlights, any highlights, whether it's the short highlights or the extended highlights, you will see Sarah feature heavily. So obviously no issues with him. I know I mentioned at one point Fastnacht. That's obviously his first goal, but I think he's slowly getting more and more involved, and I think he could be interesting as well.
And I think this is just a blip for Norwich. You know, one of them weekends we've seen some shot results this weekend. Is this just one of them?
Yeah, I think so. I think we've seen previously they've probably been the best side in the league. I know points hadn't quite shown that. The one big worry is probably obviously no Sargent and they haven't won the game. Is that going to be a major factor? Adam Eder came in, who's hasn't really done it for a long spell, and it's a brave decision to stick with him for a few games. I know they did sign a striker late in the windows, so I wonder if he'll end up getting in the team. I thought I'd just mention Rotherham. I'm not sure their squad's as good as it was last year, as in depth wise, but I think they have broke their transfer record twice this summer, so they are trying to stay in the league and show a bit of ambition. And Sam Nombe, I think, could do well with Hugo up front if they change to a five at the back at any point during the season. He's quite quick and powerful up front, so I think that'll be a decent signing. And then you've got Fred Onyedinma, who's since coming in from Luton's got 2 goals and assists and a red card. But yeah, he's been eventful for Fred.
Let's note that his assist in this game was heading the ball backwards when he was trying to head it forwards.
You say that, but his 2 goals have been headers, which I can't quite believe, having watched him for about 2 seasons. But
just one on Rotherham for me. I haven't had a chance to watch them yet. They haven't been on TV or anything. But from what I'm seeing on Twitter, from a lot of Rotherham fans and their content creators, is keep an eye on Rotherham. The results aren't quite reflecting the performances. They do look a lot better. So, especially at home, I think they're going to struggle away. But at home, it does look like it's going to be a lot more difficult game. So when you are looking to target them with captaincies or whatever, if they are away at Rotherham, just I think bear that in mind. I'm just really interested. I do actually want to watch a Rotherham game just to see that for myself. But yeah, I just thought I'd bring that up from what I've seen this week online and stuff. But obviously, from a Gaffr point of view, we're all looking at Norwich, aren't we, rather than Rotherham. Anything else from either of these?
I think it was thinking about the points you were making, actually, just on Rotherham's recruitment. I think it's one of those things where it's not going to create Gaffr assets, but it does potentially make them a better team. Like, I think Tiehi, who they brought in, who featured a little bit for Wigan, but did look solid when he played. Cafu, who does look a real player, not as good as the original one, but he does look a very solid player in there for them. Not going to be a Gaffr asset or anything, but it does potentially make them slightly better as a team. But, for Gaffr, it's still going to be irrelevant.
Yeah, he was tidy against us. I've just said I haven't watched them. Obviously, I watched them first game of the season, and then we had them in the cup. But I didn't watch the cup game. But I think, from a home point of view, I thought Cafu was really good in that midfield. So, yeah. Right, then we're on to other results, and so these are the 6 other games that went on this weekend, which we won't spend as much time on. We will literally just take the key talking points from. So the first one, I'll just go through the games and I'll come to each. If you've got anything to say, let me know. Leicester 0, Hull 1. Another one of the shocks of the weekend. Liam Delap on the score sheet. Anything from here?
Yeah, Leicester 21 shots, 1 on target.
Not ideal, is
it? In amongst that, Keenan Dewsbury Hall did have 3 shots and 5 key passes, but that's not really noteworthy. I just thought the 21 shots, 1 on target was quite interesting.
I thought Delap's goal was good as well. I know there was a deflection, but I thought the way he got into that space to get the shot away, I thought was really positive. And We might have been wrong. Well, I wouldn't say wrong about him because we've only gone off what we've seen and he didn't show us anything, did he? But hopefully he can start kicking on. I think Hull are interesting. Still not quite convinced yet to go there in Gaffr, but I think they're definitely interesting. Leicester, I'm just going to put that down to a bad day at the office again, like most of the big teams this weekend. Anything from you, Dan?
Just want to, yeah, just Mavididi. I got rid of him, and he got benched in this game. So they've obviously brought in a lot more attacking options. So maybe he might just not be nailed, and he hasn't really been doing too much, in my opinion, anyway. So yeah, Mavididi benched.
I'm glad he's doing crap because I didn't get him, and then all of a sudden everyone got him. You two got him in the same week, didn't you, when he scored? And I was like, oh,
Yeah,
great, I've missed this, brilliant. And then luckily, that was the only decent thing he did. Stoke 0, Preston 2. And Will Keane obviously getting a brace. Angus is very happy about anything
Yeah.
from this one from you two.
Hoover. I just want to mention that one of the things that jumped out on the highlights was he can't defend. Like, we don't need to be told, but it was just like there was a great sequence where he was caught dawdling on the ball, like it was nicked off him. Preston went forward, and Travers had to produce a great save to prevent an own goal.
Yeah.
Which just I just thought people looking at Hoover, like, I think he's good going forward, but with how much of a liability he is, I imagine there's danger on his spot.
Yeah, I agree. And obviously, I've always said, well, when we had him last year on loan, he was crap defensive. I've always said that. I got him in my team this season on the basis, yeah, he's crap defensive, but he is going to pick up the odd attacking return. And he's already done that once this season. But I do think he's in real danger of being dropped now. He got hauled at half-time at Millwall when we made 4 changes. He come off for Gooch in this one. Neil seems to be losing patience with him, especially when we aren't getting results and he's playing that badly defensively. It's just not helping him. So if you are a Hoover owner, like myself, I'd probably look to get rid of it. I wouldn't even give it a wait and see if he plays. It's not like Stoke are doing great either. So I think there's just better options out there. Anything else regarding anything from any of these two, Dan?
no, not for me.
No. Dwayne Holmes.
You diving bastard. Oh.
Yeah, I thought the penalty was soft. I think he did well setting up the second goal, but he does seem to be contributing whenever he gets on the pitch for Preston. That's the big thing.
And Preston fans seem to be really impressed with him so far because he was one of them when they signed him. I was like, okay, not really eye-catching. I wasn't like his biggest fan, but yeah, he seems to have started well, so I think that's a good shout. Middlesbrough 0, QPR 2. I'm calling it now. That's goal of the season. Nothing's beating that this season.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Yeah, that is a beautiful strike.
Yeah, go and watch the Lembakisa goal, and then you can assess. It might not even be goal of the weekend.
It can't be better than that. That was just pure beauty.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the one thing I've sort of, tried to defend Middlesbrough's defensive record and everything. Their record overall, it's not as bad as it looks and whatever. The one thing I think you can note, and you can sort of blame them and you sort of can't, they seem to be conceding a worldie in every game. I don't know what you do about that goal, but like it's when things are going against you, they're really going against you. When Andre Dazelle, of all people, is pinging one in like that.
He made it look effortless, didn't he? That's what I like about it so much. Just elegance of it. I don't know what to say about Middlesbrough because every week I'm thinking, right, okay, they'll probably, once they get that win, they'll kick on and they're just not getting that win, are they, at all?
No. Like I say, I'm giving up on defending them because, yes, you can look at all the numbers, all the stats. You look at any of the stats from this game and they look good for Borough, and yet they've lost 2-0. So I give up defending them now.
What's the new striker called?
Latte.
Yeah. I do like the look of him though. From the highlights I've seen, I've only seen highlights of him, but he could have had a bag full in this game, just didn't take his chances, but his numbers look good. QPR, Dan, though they've improved, haven't they? They're not as bad as we thought they may be after that first game at Watford.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they got any Gaffr assets at the minute. I think we're starting to see the players buy into Ainsworth. Um, Having played Wickham coming up through the leagues at Luton, I know he gets a team going that are completely. Sometimes the talent isn't there, but the togetherness will be. And I think some of the signings were quite smart. Cook, Colback, just experienced players that will help in and around the dressing room that will have his back. Whereas I'm not sure some of the players that were there were willing to trust Ainsworth last year. But yeah, I agree. I don't think they're quite as bad as they as we all thought they would be. Although if they get any number of injuries, they're going to struggle big time, I think.
But yeah,
I think them keeping hold of the chair was big. Sorry, I was going to say they apparently rejected a bid late on deadline day for chair, just because there wasn't going to be time to replace him. And I think, whatever the reason, him still being there will be important for them.
But yeah, we should have put QPR in the featured matches, shouldn't we? There. Next game, Birmingham 1, Millwall 1. I had the pleasure of watching most of this because I knew you two would be watching. Well, you Angus were watching Southampton, so I thought I'll watch this one because it was on at the same time. I watched it till about just after Stansfield goal, and then I had to leave for the Stoke game. But the only thing I could take from this was it was crap. But Stansfield looks decent, He obviously took his goal well last week, scored here. I thought it was a good finish as well, but his overall play on the eye test, he looks really good.
Yeah, my main takeaway is Scott Hogan has now missed 5 of the 7 penalties he's taken in his career.
That's not good.
That's a worse record than Adebayo for Luton.
But I think, Birmingham, where are they? They're 4th in the league at the moment, 11 points from the 5. I don't think we've featured them at all so far because I just don't know. There's just been other things to talk about in terms of Gaffr that is higher priority, but I think we keep mentioning positively. I think there's definitely it's going to be a time when we start looking at them soon. They've got a couple of good fixtures coming up with Norwich in between, but yeah, I think Stansfield would be the one I'll be looking at there. Anything from you two else that before going to the next game?
Nisbet with another goal.
Yes, he did, yes. Which was a direct free kick, which Ruddy should have saved, if you ask me.
Yeah, but I mean, the fact that he's on the free kicks is noteworthy as well, I think.
Yeah, positive. And he's off the mark now since his goal against Stoke, so that could kick him on. Dan, anything from you?
Just, I've actually been interested in Birmingham defensively, but Laird got injured when his stats were through the roof. I'm not sure how long he's out for, but they did sign Cody Drame. I know he didn't have a great game against Millwall, but we saw last year at Luton when he gets a run in the team, he'll do quite well for bonus, I think.
Okay. Leeds 0, Sheffield Wednesday 0. Anything worth pointing
They're all the
out?
goals.
Obviously, we spoke about Leeds quite a lot over the last few weeks. Anything that you want to point out now?
Not really for me.
No, I think it's one of those where on another day, the same game happens and Leeds get sort of 4 or 5. I think it's going to be a decision for people that will look to go into the Leeds attack, but who you're going to go with. I think there were positives from both Nonto and Somerville in this game. I also think it's interesting because it worked well in the first game. I haven't seen enough to know whether it worked as well in the second game. Piero playing behind Rutter. I wonder if that changes when, obviously, they brought in Anthony when Dan James is back as well. whether they push Pirro further forward and play 3 of them behind him.
Okay. Dan? No? I came to you first, didn't I? Last one then, Swansea 1, Bristol City 2.
Yeah, I was going to make Charlie Patino.
Yes.
I nearly bought him this week, didn't, but it's fine because I bought Rowe, so same difference. But that's another assist for him, and we talked about him previously. He looks like he's grown up a bit and grown, I guess, out a bit. He's certainly looking more up to it physically in the division, and the way Swansea are playing, I think there's going to be potential returns for him.
Yes. Okay, right. That sums up the other results. So we'll go into the Twitter questions now. We've got quite a few. So we'll do what we normally do. I'll come to each of you for each question. Dan, Chris Hermitage has asked, Dieng has to go, but which keepers or defences as a whole seem semi-reliable?
I don't know. It's hard. I don't want to make a transfer for a goalie. Dieng has been poor, though, I think. He's part of the reason why Middlesbrough aren't doing that great, I think. I've got Hideki. You could go Hazard from Plymouth, but they're conceding loads of chances. Rushworth done all right. To be honest, I'm just not interested in making a goalie move. Are you Angus? No?
I can't say I am. I mean, at one point I was looking at getting Hladky out so that I could have 3 Ipswich outfield players, but not because I actually want to make a goalkeeper switch. I mean, some of the others you're looking at, you're probably paying slightly more for them as well, which is the issue. So I think you're probably looking at someone like a Rushworth, I guess.
Okay. Angus, who forgot auto closed, has asked who forgot to send the memo to Leeds.
Yeah, that didn't go to plan. I'll check my outbox to see whether the message sent to them.
Dan FPL Frog, why is Nathan Broadhead only 10.5% owned? And how much therapy am I going to need when he scores a winner against Norwich in the playoff final?
Ipswich getting top 6.
According to you.
Not according to me. The way it's going, Norwich will go up automatically, I think.
It's a long season yet, we'll see. Angus, AD Tour. Now the transfer window is closed. Which teams do you think did the best and the worst business? I'm going to give this one to both of you. Simple, best and worst.
Best. I'm still going to say Birmingham. I know we talked about when it was sort of before the season started, but I think they had a really good window. The worst, God. I'm going to say Sheffield Wednesday. It feels harsh, but they bought in a lot of players. I'm not sure how much better they got. So that's the only reason I can think of them. There might be a couple of teams I'm forgetting that actually had bad windows, but I can't think of any, so that's why I'm going with them.
No, I think that's fair. Dan?
I'd say... I think Hull was surprised. I think they started slowly, but... Vinagre, Twine, the Laps seems to be doing all right. Who else did they sign? Philogene, Aaron Connolly. I think they've improved their squad.
Philogene's the big one.
I think there's a chance they could get top 6. I think.
Okay. I'll come to Angus now then because it was this question. Robbie.
Worst is Middlesbrough by a country mile. By a country mile. If you look at the players they lost from loan and anything, they've just not replaced them at all, really.
before we spend a long time debating that one, I'm going to move on swiftly. Robin, FPL Red Arrow has asked, bloody hell, 3 questions. Cheeky git. Right, Angus, you have the first one. Not played a boost yet. Any particular targetable weeks?
Any of them that your players have good fixtures.
Yeah, but that doesn't always work, though, does it? So we found that out this last week.
No, so it just shows. Don't bother picking out like planning ahead for a week. Like just pick a week where your players have good fixtures. It might work, it might not.
Yeah, I'll give him expert advice here. Just follow my strategy. Don't look at any weeks to play them, and then when you're about to do your team on deadline day, if it looks good, just press the button on one of them. That's what I'm going to do. So we'll see how that works out. Dan, best current front 3 to own?
That's tricky, isn't it? I think Armstrong, Piero, and then there's loads. I've got Broadhead, but I like Hardy, Whitaker. I think Godden's a shout now.
Best front 8 to own.
I know. It's lucky he didn't ask midfielders. I'd still be going about 12.
Well, talking about midfielders, but it's going to come to Angus. Mavididi replacements.
Anyone.
Just realistically, what you looking to bring in?
I think obviously you're looking at the Leeds guys, particularly sort of Nonto and Somerville. I think we mentioned Wes Burns. I think is actually interesting if you're not already sort of maxed out on Ipswich. Rowe and Sarah, for whatever reason, you don't have them. Jack Clark. If you don't have Jack Clark, that seems an obvious sort of sideways move at the moment.
That's a good one. Well, I've got 3 questions that are basically the same thing that are not really questions, more rhetorical. So FPL Burnley, non-stop FPL and FPL Guab. Did anyone score more than 25 points? Because I did not. That is unlucky, Burnley. I'm sure your squad is decent. It was just a bad week. Non-stop FPL did Norwich, Leicester and Leeds deliberately troll those of us on triple this weekend? Yes, they did, because I made them do it and it was fantastic. And FPL Guab, did anyone have a good game week yesterday? Every result was crazy. Well, this is the championship, and this is what we get now and again, and it does make it entertaining. Whose question is it? I forgot.
I don't know.
Oh, Angus, you did the Mavididi one, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Dan, James Dorney. Time to get rid of Manning. Who is the best replacement? I am looking at Ayling, but that would mean I'm tripping up on Leeds. Not sure if that is a wise move. No, I thought I wrote that question then because I wanted Ayling for Manning, but then I definitely wouldn't be on triple Leeds. What's your advice, Dan?
It's so hard with Manning because he could theoretically get like 15 to 20 points in a game week, like
Anybody
he did the other game week. Yeah, but we've seen history of him doing it. Wouldn't go Ayling now, not with Spence joining.
Yeah, no, that was quite annoying. I found that really annoying because now I can't go there. Even though we don't know who's number one, like first choice yet, you just can't risk it if you're going to move on to it. If I had Ayling, I'd keep him until I knew otherwise. But yeah, that is a tough one, isn't it? Who would you recommend if you're not going to recommend Ayling?
Birmingham right back. If we find out between Laird or Drame, I think they're massively going under the radar defensively.
Okay. Angus, FPL Commander.
Yeah, that's basically.
One problem that has stayed with me since game week 1 was Joe Lewis, who I put in with minutes to go on that deadline. Should I resolve that problem now with Mumby, or should I still hold? I think
Joe Lewis.
Yeah, Joe Lewis. Yeah, it's Jamal Lewis, isn't it?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wasn't Joe Lewis a goalie?
Yeah,
Peter
that's why I got confused. I was like, "Who signed Joe Lewis?"
I don't even know how I know that. It's just
I probably wouldn't want Jamal Lewis at this point. He might actually be fit after the break, but do you really want to be using a spot there? I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think you'd want that Watford defensive asset, would you, at the moment? Would you go Mumba then?
I think so. I think Mumba's perfectly good as an option.
Yeah, I agree. My phone's just locked. Bear with me. FPL blindside. Is it time to move on from Mavididi, which we've covered? Dan Shidabadababe is asked, best defender 4.8 or below. Let's put you on the spot now.
Do you know, I haven't looked at any defenders that low.
That has put you on the spot, hasn't it?
I think best if Brady isn't back, for Preston is a good option at left back. Angus is going to say he's back.
He's allegedly going to be back, but it's Robbie Brady an injury.
True. I think he's the best option at 4.6. He was on some free kicks, weren't he? Obviously, it's a wait and see.
Okay. Angus, I think I already know what the answer is going to be. It says Fantasy Worldwide has asked, is it too reactionary to play Overhaul after such a terrible game week?
Yes. If you actually look at your team and you've got Mavididi and Joe Bryan, who's disappeared from the Millwall team again, and Dello, and you're not happy with that, and you're looking at any number of issues, then you can overhaul. If it's just that you had a bad week, we were talking before, the reason that we've had that our scores look so good this week is we were playing a boost. If we hadn't, we'd probably be not that far ahead of you, and in terms of the game week scores. And I think there were lots of low scores around, so I don't think it's necessarily worth overhauling at this point.
I completely agree there. Next question, Pateri Anunen. Sorry, I know you've asked questions before. You need to tell me how to pronounce your name. Is Mavididi Asal? We've gone through that one, and now I'm really going to put you on the spot if you haven't looked at the questions beforehand. Best game weeks to use home advantage boost with fairly template team. Now I've just seen that while you was talking, and I took nothing what you said in then, Angus, because I was trying to look at this quick. And it's quite hard because Southampton don't match with Leeds and Leicester regarding playing home and away. So when he says template, it's quite difficult because there's a core of template players, isn't there? But it's not really that template, is it? I don't think.
No. Particularly with some of the shifts around, I'm not even sure who is in the template now, or allegedly in the template or whatever. So, I think it's tough to sort of advise that. I've sort of been thrown because I'm like, who even is in the template now?
But let's just go through that. Is there a week that stands out of home fixtures that is? And I've just really been put off because my camera is froze, and I am doing the most weird face ever. And I hope this is not froze like this on YouTube because that's bad. I can't stop looking at myself. So I'll try to sort that out while you two are looking at that. Sorry for the audio listeners. This isn't very good content at the moment, but
I think 14 might be an option.
14? Who's at home in 14?
Hull,
Leeds at
Ipswich, Leeds.
Southampton.
Birmingham.
Sheffield Wednesday. Pack your team with assets from them.
Even Sunderland against Norwich, if you've got a Jack Clark, you'd have to think that that'll be an attacking game. We've seen Norwich against Southampton. So, yeah, 14's
Game week 8. You got Coventry at home, Leicester at home, Leeds at home, Ipswich at home, Plymouth at home.
11,
Sunderland.
you get Southampton, Leeds and Leicester all at home. Southampton have got Rotherham at home, which is really appealing. Leicester have got Stoke and Leeds have got Bristol City. So if we're going to assume that the 3 big clubs are 10 points, that'd probably be really ideal, wouldn't it? But yeah,
There's numerous options, to
Yeah.
be honest. Like it'll just be what if your team's set up like any of these boosts are, I think.
right, last question, because we are nearly at an hour and a half. Bean's piece has asked, Chaplin to Broadhead, smart or sideways move? I'd say sideways.
Yeah, sideways, I think.
Would you agree,
Yeah.
Angus? I think
Yeah.
if you've got into bed with one of them, you just lie in it. There's no point switching now. I'm at Broadhead. I'd like Chaplin, but I've already gone to
I was
Broadhead.
wondering where that was going.
I was
there,
waiting.
Jake.
I was waiting. I was like...
Yeah. Sleeping with Ipswich players, yeah, you can only sleep with one. But yeah, that is all the Twitter questions. So that's basically a wrap up of the pod. Yeah, international break though. So we've got nothing next week, and then we'll be back. Where is it? We'll record on the Sunday. I know it was unfortunate situations this week. Dan was there, then my little girl was there, so we couldn't do it. But it is much better when we record on the Sunday because I can actually remember things then as well. It's really difficult to remember things this late on in the week. But yeah, thank you very much for listening. Any questions, just tweet at EFL_fantasy. Angus has got that account, so you can annoy him and not me or Dan. But yeah, we'll be back.
I might remember to check.
Yes. Yeah. Or just, if he doesn't answer, just go and tweet him directly just so he can't avoid you. Yeah,
or I might forget that as well.
Yeah. No, but looking forward to game week 6. I think this is when the championship gets really interesting. When we have the midweek games, it's really fast, and the game weeks come at you.
Yeah.
Really, really quick. By the time you digested the weekend's games, you're in for a deadline on the Tuesday evening. So that will be fun. We will be here to cover all the game weeks and review them all. Yeah, thank you very much for watching. Thank you for listening. Make sure you subscribe and like. And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.